Good morning. How are you guys today? I'm obviously just in bed. Um I was out dancing last night with my good friends and I'm holding my phone, so that's why it's like shaking. But I want to just really talk about forgiveness today. You know, so many people are living their lives not forgiving their past, not forgiving themselves, not forgiving their parents, not forgiving something that happened to them, and we've all gone through some traumatic shit. And this is not to dishonor your experience or um for me to dismiss it, all the D's. But I just want you to know that in order for you to move on in this life, you have to practice forgiveness and compassion. And I have had to forgive my mother going missing and abandoning me, and even though she didn't want to, finally this year she came to me in the meditation, which might have been her soul, but it could have just been my ability to forgive. And she came to me and said, "I never want to leave you." It was so powerful. Um, so powerful. I might cry because it was just, I hadn't had like, I'm not sad about my mother going missing. It still triggers me sometimes because I'd love to have a mother, obviously, but you know, I I get emotional thinking about it because it was just such a beautiful meditation. But I was ready to forgive. I'll talk about that in another moment. Like, I had to forgive my grandparents for their imperfections. Like, though they raised me well, there were a lot of things that were really fucked up growing up. I was raised by hoarders. Like, I never had company. We had bed bugs. My grandmother had a lot of mental illness. And my grandfather, as much as I loved him, my favorite human, he was very like, I'm going to look the other way instead of confronting issues. But people are trying their best. I really believe that. I really believe that this life that we have, people are really trying their best. And you know, even though you might not understand that in the moment, people really are trying their best with the knowledge they have. Like, if they're not conscious, they haven't had an awakening to what their highest self could be, because I believe that there's always a higher self that's beckoning us to do better. In the sense of, like, for example, if you think about your thoughts and your dreams, there's always a part of you that is like dreaming of that person you can be versus a person you are now. So that's what I mean by higher self. I'm deep into spirituality. You know, I had to forgive the person who I loved that was upstairs fucking the woman up there, and that I apologized and then stalked me at my job, came to my house still for my party, wrote me a letter, and stayed for the whole, and even, I remember telling one of the pastors about, like, oh my God, this guy's at my job, and he's like, that fucking asshole. I love this pastor. I love you, Pastor Jeff. um, this is another reason why I don't have a problem with all people that are religious, because some people are just, they do good things, they understand justice, and they have a good relationship with their experience of the divine, which could be Jesus. How much time have we been talking? 3 minutes, 31 seconds. Okay, I don't have my glasses on, my contacts, so I can't see shit. Um, but I also had to forgive my father. Like, my father and I have a much better relationship now, and even my sister. Like, because I had such a childhood full of mental illness and drugs and alcohol abuse and, like, serious people who didn't forgive themselves. But it's just, my family had so much mental illness. And now that I'm older and I reflect on it, like, my mother was trying her best, my grandmother was trying her best. Like, nobody knows how to do this life perfectly. Like, and when some people are just not conscious of how to do it perfectly. When you deepen your spiritual path and you realize that everyone's connected, you start to have really a lot of compassion, especially as an adult, and you start living on your own and you start fucking up. Like, nobody really fucks up, but, like, in the sense of, you're not living according to you feel your highest being, you do things imperfectly, you're able to forgive people because you're like, damn, we're all just trying our fucking best. And there's no God in the sky. I don't believe in God in that way. I really believe more in consciousness, but we've been conditioned through religion to think that there's a hell and that there's some sort of, like, you know, devil or condemnation waiting for us when we die. And so the way that we get out, and this is where I don't agree with religion, this and forgiveness um, and religion are are very correlated, because why don't you forgive? It's because, well, I want to condemn you instead of being loving. And that's not really what divinity is. Like, you have to know that consciousness and the molecules and the atoms in your body, when they incarnate into humanity, are full of forgiveness, because you know that your atoms, or we all are full of the same atoms and molecules as the other person. So, and we all have the same emotions, but there's also no like hierarchy that, like, oh, if we die and go to hell, which I don't believe in, but a lot of people don't understand this conditioning, that I'm not going to go to hell because I haven't done as bad as this person. So I'm going to put up a hierarchy of these people and the things that we've done that have done bad things to us, because there's a hell, and I have to not be there. So that's another conversation, but you really need to think about that, because a lot of people compare good and bad things in this life. And yes, I believe that there are bad things that happen, but really, there's no like, and I don't believe in taking the life of another, but ultimately the rules that we have in this world were created so that we can continue life. But the world was just here. Everything that we do, we put a meaning towards it. You know, we put meaning towards it so we can continue living, so we can continue being here. And I don't believe in discrimination or racism and all that different stuff. But even those things were made up, because the world just was before. I mean, there was nothingness, you know? So everything that we do has been created, but that's also another story. But forgiveness, when you know these things, it allows you to be like, wow, like I need to forgive this person. I need to move on, because it's keeping me bound. I mean, especially my relationship with my father, I've been able to reconcile, because he had a past, which I won't talk about, but like my father and I are much closer now, because we had to negotiate what our relationship was like, and forgive one another. And this is one thing. And also, like, I had to forgive the church for being so terrible to me. And I've, but I've done the inner work to understand that if we're all connected, and if I have my own life, I get to dictate my own life, I can move past what happened in the past. Like, I've been sexually molested, and I'm not trying to like bring up these trigger things, but I had to like really forgive the people that didn't protect me from that. And also know that, like, as an adult, I can move past that, and yes, go to therapy and cry it out and understand that. And I had to forgive the female oppression I went through from the church, and the fact that as a black person, they were trying to get me to be white. And even people around me who are super like not into equality when it comes to the races and cultures, and how and our the origin of our culture, because I'm trying to get people out of the word race, because as we need to understand that race, the word racism and race, is a social construction, but the ethnic backgrounds that we were born into, like, you have to forgive people who don't acknowledge that for you, because they're born into a certain ethnic background that conditions them not to acknowledge. And you just have to create your own reality. But when you forgive, it allows you to, whatever, no matter what it is, whether you've been divorced, where something traumatic has happened to you, it allows you to live. Like, forgiveness is not just about, you being like, well, I've forgiven you, and I'm gonna forget. You don't really forget. The memories become blurrier over time when you create the story. That's especially like if you go to hypnotherapy, they change the story for you. They help you to change the story, and like you heal the wound from a like inner child perspective, where you go as a child and you're like, you reparent yourself and you give yourself the story you want. So, and you go deep into your subconscious mind. So you're literally rewriting the story of your subconscious mind. So that's why people can go out of into hypnotherapy sessions and out different, because they've changed up a story that was deep in their subconscious mind. But forgiveness allows you to live. It allows you to stop feeling bound to another person, and to remember that no matter what has happened to you in this life, whether it's a system of the government or something from your family, that you have the power to get out of that. But you have to do the work to forgive, and stop letting someone have power over you. Stop saying, well, I'm this way because of this person. No, you're this way because you're choosing not to forgive that person. Let's be real. You might have been this way because of what someone had done to you, what someone did to you, but eventually you have to be like, well, that happened. I need to move on, no matter how painful it was. So this is just what I want to say today. Forgive so you can live.